Now I would like to introduce Commissioner Mariya Gabriel. She's in charge at the European Commission for Research, Culture, Education and Youth, and Innovation. Sorry, I forgot that. There are too many words in her title. Commissioner, can you hear us?
I hear you very well, Florin.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to hear that. And thanks again for joining us online. I'm really sorry you couldn't make it to Prague today. But maybe next time.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much for this wonderful initiative to have a discussion on this very constructive and future-oriented topic.
Thank you. So as you know, this panel is about the Widening program and how we can unlock the R&I potential in Central and Eastern Europe. And this discussion has a special focus on talent, attraction, and skills. So I want to frame the first question in the broader political context of the EU. So we're going through various crises, and the plan of the EU is to achieve more strategic autonomy and to achieve its twin transition. So do you think we have the skills to do that, to achieve that? And what can be done better in countries in Central and Eastern Europe to align them to these goals, to these broader political goals?
Well, first of all, it's one of the biggest challenges that we have ahead of us, but being passive observers, it's not an option. And at the same time, it is not enough just to navigate through these transitions. For us, what is important is that European Union takes the lead. And I must say since the very beginning that no one in the world has the necessary skills and all these people equipped with these competencies. But what we have as Europe is that we have all the conditions to develop the skills to address the big challenges ahead. Just allow me to give you an example with the new European Innovation Agenda. Because actually when we talk about strategic autonomy, green and digital transition, is true that we need not only regulation, I insist that we need much more a strong talent pool and a vibrant pan-European innovation ecosystem. And for the new wave of innovation, for example, the so-called deep tech innovation, we need scientists and engineers in all STEAM domains, in addition to the software developers or marketing experts. And here, I must say that Central and Eastern Europe, for historical reasons, is very well positioned on these kind of domains. So that's a chance that we should seize and to see it as an opportunity. Because I think that here in the region, we can address all these challenges. Another important element, don't forget, very often we stay very much focused what are the European universities that are in the top 50. But when we look at the ranking of 500 top universities in the world, Europe is leading. So we need to unlock the potential of our universities, to work more closely with them, with industry, and to see how we can better provide those skills and competencies that are necessary for the transitions. One concrete example, again, in the new European Innovation Agenda, Deep Tech Talent Initiative. We are saying for the next 3 years, we would like to have 1 million deep tech talents in all our regions and in all our member states. That will be done with the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. And yes, I must say that now the initiative is launched since 3 weeks, but we see a lot of interest coming from all our member states. We have many other examples, European alliances. We have the battery academies. For me, the challenge is how we can avoid duplications, how we can link better those different initiatives, and how we can provide the necessary information at time in order to allow to have access to these programs for everyone. That's for me the biggest challenge that we have.
Thank you. My next question is still about talent retention. So we all know that since the fall of communist regimes in Central and Eastern Europe, these countries have been suffering from brain drain. So is that phenomena reversible? And how do you view this issue from Brussels?
Wow, I think that we have to work hard to make this a reversible trend, because the persistent attractiveness gap of Central and Eastern Europe countries is a big challenge for Europe. And that's why what we can do is to provide the conditions to make brain circulation in Europe a balanced mechanism. So that means that when we talk about researchers, we need to provide opportunities for researchers to follow their dreams and access better conditions. At the same time, we need to create pan-European networks, not to force them to look around. And yes, I think that here one of the main strategic objectives should be to align better our policies at European, national and regional level. I just heard the answer of the previous question of the previous panel, and I must say that we don't have to see the national and the European funding and policies as initiative as competitors. They are complementary, but we need this alignment to transform it into something that is concrete and operational. So yes, here what I would like to say when we talk about reversible trend, I think that clearly we can address 4 categories of conditions if you'd like to transform this into reversible trend. Of course, first we have system level factors, governance, tools, investment. Here really for me the key word is alignment. We have to think about research environment, and that's the availability of infrastructures. We need to talk about working conditions, recruitment, salaries, career paths. We need to valorize the diversity of the career paths. And finally, yes, it's important to take into consideration the level of research excellence. And here is the output, the international cooperation. So I think that only when together we look how to create synergies between the 4 different categories of factors that influence this trend, we can better answer to that. Very often the work is much more in silo and we stay focused on one aspect or another one. I think that we are living in this very complex world that we need to address this in an innovative way, in a different way.
Okay. Now we have, as we know, we have all sorts of national and EU instruments in place. Some are old, others are newer. But what can we do to streamline their functioning so that we make sure that they're truly interconnected and well, complementary,
Well,
as
maybe
you say?
here, what I would like to add is an example, because that's one of the strategic investments done by Czech Republic and Hungary, and soon complemented by Romania. I would like really to talk about the extreme light infrastructure, ELI, because it was for me a real pleasure to visit ELI last July. And I know that a long and hard work of more than a decade it was here to set up, but it is paying back, because with this major and concrete investment, Eastern Europe member states can position themselves as global players, enabling exciting fundamental research into world-class extreme bright lasers. And these world-class conditions are a major attractor. I witness it by talking to a group of young researchers coming from many places of Europe and beyond. And many told me that their choice was not only about a better remuneration. They see it as an opportunity to be in leading projects with access to unique facilities that would give them the possibility to further project their careers. And this is for me an enlightening example of these type of long arch of investments Europe needs to foster scientific leadership and inclusive excellence. But yes, we need here a lot to do. And I must say that when we talk about research and innovation, one of the most important things is definitely to see how we can strengthen the links between the academia and non-academia. And yeah, here we have some challenges, but that's why we need to pay attention to the higher education institutions, because they can be an excellent driver for this cooperation, for this coordination. And yeah, from my side, I must say that we have good examples. There is some very encouraging tendencies, but we need a critical mass of examples like this one if we would like to do things better.
Okay, I would like to take just a second to remind the audience that you can think of one or two questions that you may want to address the commissioner. She has kindly agreed to answer a couple of questions if you want to. So I'll give you some time to think about it, and then we come back to that a bit later. So, Commissioner, I want to ask you next, what are the lessons that we've learned so far that we can learn to ensure that the next generation of scientists in Central and Eastern Europe are better integrated in EU programs? As we've heard this morning, this issue of low participation is a challenge, and you know very well that, especially in the previous framework program, only a small fraction of the Horizon 2020 budget was allocated to this region. So, what we can do to better integrate researchers from this region into EU programs?
Well, first, I think that's a real European challenge, because if you'd like to build a knowledge-based economy and society that is of the interest of all Europe, and it's not only a problem of few countries, but yes, at the same time, we can do some additional efforts to better integrate the researchers and the scientists in Central and Eastern Europe. Of course, the Horizon Europe program is our main tool, but for me, Horizon Europe program should be a catalyzer for this better integration. And we have some very good examples. First, of course, we have to use now the possibilities that we created with the widening part of the program. Tripling the budget for me that means tripling the opportunities for scientists to participate in projects and to show the excellence of Central and Eastern Europe. But of course, as I'm always claiming, we should not stay focused only on the widening part, because it's only 3.3%. The challenge is really to increase the participation of all scientists, researchers, and innovators coming from Central and Eastern Europe in all the different parts of our Horizon Europe program. That means that we need to continue to encourage the participation in our missions, in our partnerships, and we have some good examples. I already shared this, but in our mission on smart and climate neutral cities, 36 out of 100 cities that were selected, the first selection, are coming from Central and Eastern Europe. And these cities are really supposed to be innovation hubs to inspire others to follow. The same with the European Innovation Council, the last call. For the first time, we had so much success coming from companies in Central and Eastern Europe. But we need to continue to work together. And that's why, again, for me, there is some concrete obstacles, and these obstacles are not only obstacles for Central and Eastern Europe. Of course, we need to address the short-term working perspectives of young researchers, the terms of their condition and their work, because we know that currently new research posts are often on a project-by-project base, which has a negative impact on employment conditions and career development perspective, and even on our demography. So it's important to offer long-term perspective, strengthen the diversity of research career paths, and yes, for example, here promoting mobility between academia and industry. And we need here to build a very strong partnership with member states and industry to address these commonly agreed critical issues, such as precarity of the conditions of researchers or lack of intersectoral careers. And yes, that's why we need to address another important issue, that's to improve the recognition of research activities. And actually, that's the research assessment system. You know that we started this process in February this year. We already signed it as European Union. So I very much hope that the different organizations everywhere, research institutes, universities in our member states, will help us to transform this system, and simply to send a very strong message to our scientists that they are welcome in the program, not only in Horizon Europe program, but we need their talent, and we need to see them making career. Now, we have good examples because there is people that are very bright and they come back to their countries. I think that sometime we should promote them better, really to give them more visibility because they can be role models for others. I'm thinking about Martin Vecev and Insight in Bulgaria. I'm thinking about Daniel Deans and UiPath in Romania. So maybe sometime we really need to better valorize those that already had their own success story. And for that, we need every one of you here, even in the room.
Okay. Are there any questions from the rooms? Yes, please, Lydia. Can we get a microphone, please?
Hello, good morning. Hello, Mariya. This is Lydia Borrell from Science Europe. I'm the Secretary General of Science Europe, and I would like to ask you a question. Well, first of all, thank you for accepting to being in this event and participating in this important discussion. As you are very well aware, and that was validated by the report from the Court of Auditors, next to the EU efforts to close the gap in investment and performance of research and innovation, we need the member states to kind of implement reforms. My question to you is, first of all, how can we persuade, or what type of evidence do we need from the research funding and performing organizations that I represent to provide to member states to encourage them to take up measures? And also not only to those under the so-called widening, but also the non-widening, because in my view, this is a responsibility of all member states, and not only of those that have the label on to participate in the widening measure. So what are your views on this more towards a more collective effort?
Well, thank you very much for this question. I think that, yes, first, our member states are more and more aware how important it is to continue to invest at national level. Because sometimes we have a momentum to seize, because it's true that for the first time we have such a strong budget with Horizon Euro program, but we have the Resilience and Recovery Facility national plans. And here I must say that our member states all decided to invest in research and innovation. What is now for me critical is really to look very closely and to see how we can create synergies between the different initiatives, because all our member states in their national plans addressed this issue of young researchers, of research infrastructures or innovation. But what we need is to connect the different initiatives, and that will be a big challenge. How to convince our member states? I think that it's always the most useful is to convince by example. In all our member states, we have extraordinary example how the investment in research and innovation is the best investment that you can do, not only for your future, but even for your present, because we can't tackle all these challenges in front of us without our researchers, without our innovators, without our higher education institutions. So yes, from my side, what I will be really very, very glad to have is more visibility to the success stories. I mentioned TLI, but I have so many in all our member states. And even when we talk about investment that was done the previous years and the fruits that we start to see this year, we have extraordinary examples with Estonia, and think about the place of Estonian innovation, with Czech Republic in some very, very crucial issues, topics like health or cybersecurity, and think about Hungary, because we see how we can create an ecosystem. What I see now as novelty is that our member states are more and more aware that we have to link research, innovation, and education. The knowledge triangle for the benefits of the society, that may be one of the best ways to show results a little bit more rapidly, because we know, and we should preserve this for research, the curiosity-driven research, fundamental research. We need to preserve this freedom of research. But at the same time, we know that we are living in a world where industry would like to see immediately results, that we need to address challenges like it was the case for COVID-19 or like it is now the case with energy sector. I think that when we link education with research and innovation, we have much more chances to convince our member states how much this investment is a strategic one. Strategic because that's for the benefits of all our citizens. It's not only for a certain category of citizens.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think I have a follow-up question on what you just said on linking education and research. In what way the European education area and the European research area you think should be connected to achieve that?
Well, now after 1 year of very hard work, I must say that they are connected. Remember, in January 2022, we published our European strategy for universities. For the first time in the European strategy for universities, research and innovation are integral part. So I think that that was very important to see how we can promote with our European universities alliances, the incubators at universities, innovators at school, or simply to continue to build real synergies with the European research area. I'm thinking about our ERA Talent platform. I'm thinking about our ERA fellowships. That's a very concrete, or the excellence hubs. That's for me concrete examples of these synergies. Now we have the European Innovation Agenda. And in the European Innovation Agenda, one of the 5 main flagship is talent. Here, our European Universities Alliances, our research institute, have a particularly important role to play. I mentioned the example of the initiative 1 million deep tech talent, but I would like to give you another example. We'll have in January 23, we start next year. That's not a strategy for 2050. The innovation agenda is here for the next 2 years to make a difference. Next year, we start a new internship scheme between European Research Council and European Innovation Council. It's really important to show to our researchers what we do with companies that are funded by European Innovation Council, and for our companies that are supported by EIC to value the work that is done for our researchers. That's the same for the European Universities Alliances. I must say that they are more and more mobilized, not only to show that they are able to be excellent and their alliance is really a leader in different fields. They see how the coordination and the cooperation between different alliances that will facilitate the work between researchers, innovators, and universities. And that's some very, very good examples that we start to have. I believe that now the framework is here. We have the European education area, the European research area, the innovation agenda was the missing link, it's here. Now it's time for implementation, and that's why the next 1 year will be crucial.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other questions before? Yes, I see there's one question in the back. So Commissioner, can we take one more from the audience?
Yes.
And then we'll wrap up.
Thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Mariya Saugman, and I'm here on behalf of Eurodoc, the European Council of Doctoral Candidates and Early Career Researchers. And I'm very happy that you put focus on the conditions we offer to early stage researchers. Because whether you want to attract talent for academia and higher education in the future, or for industry and innovation, then it starts and ends with doctoral candidates and postdocs. And I would like, if not just yours, but also your reflections on how can we move towards a more sustainable conditions for this group, so crucial group for academia and innovation. Because many of us these days are not offered proper employment, are underfinanced on a personal level. And that influences who can afford to pursue a research career, who can pursue a doctoral training program to begin with, who can afford to stay in research. And that's a Europe-wide question. Unfortunately, not just localized to a particular part of Europe, but Europe-wide. So is there any initiatives or anything you see that can be done to move more sustainable towards better career paths? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Well, maybe I will be a little bit provocative, but I think that maybe it's time to have a partnership at European level for our young researchers. to ensure the sustainability of their career. Because, of course, when we talk about the conditions of early career researchers, young researchers, our member states have a particularly important role to play. But at European level, we have some very good examples. I'm thinking about Marie Sklodowska-Curie Action Program. But I think that it's really time to scale and to send a very strong message to our researchers. Of course, these partnerships will be not done overnight, but why not to start to think about this in order to provide the necessary conditions for our researchers? And that's not the only one aspect to take into consideration. I mentioned it. For me, it's really important to continue the work on research assessment, because we have a new generation of researchers that are curious, that are multitask, if I may say. If we don't valorize all these different experiences, it's very difficult to convince them to engage in a sustainable career. A very short example. I'm Commissioner for Education. Now with the strategy, European strategy for universities, we have these program researchers at school. It's the best way to convince young people that the career of researcher, that's something funny, that's something that fulfills with personal and professional satisfaction. But we need to valorize those researchers that decided to take from their time and not only to look what will be the publication and where this will be published, but because they take care of this young generation, to inspire them to have this valorization of the activities. I'm thinking about mentoring, about leadership programs. We need to address these issues. So I very much hope that with the new European research area, we already started to address some of these issues, but we need something concrete, and that's why I dared to share this idea. Why not? Maybe it is time in Europe to have a European partnership for young researchers.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. On that positive note, I think it's time to end. So thank you very much for giving us food for thought for later. We really appreciate your joining us today online. So thank you for that. I want to invite our audience to give you a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.